The snow can't hold us back. We got a game to play. Alongside Leno Willingham, I'm Denton Day. It is a Burgundy and Gold pregame show. We are live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax. Snow can't hold them back either. Need a place to watch the game? Come hang out with us. I'm going to borrow a phrase from our guy Earl Forsey, Linnell, with one caveat. Today is football the way it was meant to be played. It's snowy in New Jersey. It's cold in New Jersey. The one caveat is this. I just wish the team wasn't 3-10 taking on a 2-11 New York Giants team. If these records were flipped, or if they were just even remotely a little bit better, it would be an exciting, fun matchup, snow-filled matchup, and instead, you're just sitting here saying, wow, are we going to be last place in the division? I thought we had graduated from this position. How are you, my friend?
I'll be very honest with this. You know, I'm a straight shooter. I've never cared less about a game. like in all honesty, and I've been one of the main folks, one of the main people talking about, the final four games and what it means and why it's important to this group. This game doesn't matter.
It doesn't mean anything anymore.
I'll be honest with you, because I've been saying it all along. You're looking for, things to take into next year here in this final four-game sample size. I don't know what you can do against the Giants that I can consider legitimate. Like if you do it against Dallas or Philly in the final 3 weeks, I can consider it legitimate. I don't know if there's anything that they can prove to me today. Honestly. Now, ask this question on Thursday, Denton. What would your reaction be to another 21-plus point loss?
Not good.
If they lose today by 21-plus points, that's the premise that I'm coming into this show with. Just don't get embarrassed. You're on the road. I don't know what New Yorkers eat. What is that, like a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel?
I did have that.
Go to a bodega or something like that. Like, enjoy the day that you spent out there, because they got out there yesterday. I hope that they're locked and loaded and ready to play a football game, because I'll tell you what, we want to get invited back to Honor Brewing here in Fairfax. If they lose by 21-plus points again, the invite may get stripped. Not because we're going to do anything, but because why would we be doing this?
Because they would then be too embarrassing. Yeah. And I'm in agreement with you in that an embarrassment is the last thing that can happen. Based off of how the last 2 weeks have gone, where first week of Hard Knocks, you have this, we were lost and now we're found, and then you turn right around and lose by 31 to a Minnesota team offensively that had not been very good, to a quarterback in J.J. McCarthy that had not been very good, and he sliced and diced you up the entire afternoon, to then do the same thing potentially to Jackson Dart, who has been up and down. He doesn't turn the football over, so that's one nice thing about Jackson Dart if you're a Giants fan. But he's not a great quarterback. He's not nearly a great quarterback. So if he comes in and slices you up in a snow game, keep in mind, this guy played his college ball in two places, Linnell. Ole Miss and USC. That's Oxford, Mississippi, and Southern California. You know what those two places don't happen to have a lot of? Snow.
Yeah.
So this is not like a cold weather guy, right? If he comes in what I believe is his first snow game, at least since he was in like high school or something, right? Like it's been a long time. If he has played in the snow, if he looks like Joe Montana in the snow, that might be the time where heads start to roll a little bit on the defensive side. You just have to, you got to understand, because I do feel like over the past few weeks, Dan Quinn has still been like, we're trying to figure out what the problem is. We're looking for solutions. Buddy, you just stink.
Yeah, I'm about
like
to
the team is just not very good.
Yeah.
And if you lose to the Giants and fall to 3-11, it is time to just admit the fact that, hey, this season sucks. There is no solution. There's nothing that we can fix at this point. We just got to take the suck.
Yeah, it's just tough because the Giants are also equally as bad. So, like, if you lose today, really in any fashion, I'm going to be upset. But the one thing that I don't know if I can stomach another 21-plus point loss. I don't know if Dan Quinn can stomach one either. He said it this week when he spoke to the local media, like, this brotherhood is what he described it as. This brotherhood cannot afford another performance like we had this past weekend, because you begin to dent the armor, so to speak, of the brotherhood when you're constantly going out there and getting stone cold stuttered each and every Sunday, man. Like, you've got to show a level of give a damn, and you got to show a level of, hey, we're here to compete. The one thing that you continue to hear, and you can check out, I believe it's Sam Cosme and John Bates each and every week, Tuesdays, on with B. Mitch and Finley right here on the Fan. Cosme came on this week and really reiterated to JP and B Mitch, like, hey, the locker room's not gone. And Cosme referenced the 2023 season, that final season under Ron Rivera. And, hey, not only was the locker room lost, and the team was lost, right?
That was, by the way, that was the funniest exit interview day.
Oh, my goodness.
I think that we have ever covered in this sport, because everyone, like, the walls were down and everyone's like, the offense sucked. The coaching staff wasn't very good.
Yeah.
That was hilarious. Continue.
No, it just, he's been through it before, right? So when you have a veteran like that that's been here for multiple coaching staffs, you can then begin to draw comparisons from one regime to another. And the one thing that you continue to hear is that this locker room isn't lost. And I expected that, right? Like when you have veterans like Laramie Tunsil and Von Miller and Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler and so on and so forth, like these are guys that have wore it, before at points in their career. They've all went through a season like this at some form or fashion. And the big thing is, how do you ultimately respond? And we've been talking about their response for the better part of 8 weeks, so they've lost 8 in a row. My thing that I hope, and we don't really know this because we're not behind the walls in Ashburn, you got to fall in love with the process, right? And I think no matter what the result is, and we can speak to this as like radio people, right? We've gone through a bunch of different stuff. It's not always the most sexy business at all, but you prepare the same way each time. You set yourself up, I guess, Denton, for the best result possible. That's what I hope they're doing, even though the season is clearly lost, right? Still being in love with the process. Everyone's getting bent out of shape about the veteran rest days. Like I've said multiple weeks here on this pregame show, it's more of a formality. Guarantee you Zach Ertz is out on the jugs for at least a half hour on a vet rest day. Guarantee Von Miller's working the ladder and pass rush moves on a vet rest day. And look, it's not like practice is anything anyway. Like that's what I keep trying to tell people. Like, if you've been to an NFL practice or gotten to watch it in any form or fashion, I mean, that comparing what they do in practice Monday through Friday to a game is honestly
very
disrespectful.
Different.
And it's disrespectful to Sunday. So
yeah, it is. So I do wonder this. And I was driving over here, and I was thinking, we're at Honor Brewing, by the way, in Fairfax. Come hang out with us if you need a place to watch the game. They got great food and drink special. He's Linnell Willingham. I'm Dende. So I'm driving over here on 66, Linnell, and I'm thinking to myself, would it almost be better if there was a very clear disconnect? Because one of the things that has become a little bit worrisome is that we have now spent weeks plural, almost months now, where they say there's nothing going wrong. We just don't know why we are not playing well on a regular basis. A part of me wishes like there was some very clear thing, like at the end of the Rivera era, at the very least we knew the coaching staff situation is not working. The offensive coordinator situation with Bieniemy not working. The defensive coordinator situation not working. It does worry me a little bit that the team is having as many problems as they have this year. And some of that is largely based off of injuries. But even when guys are seemingly healthy, I mean, they were fully at health on offense last week. They're as full as health as you're going to get in the month of December, and they were awful. It does bother me a little bit that we don't know what the problem is, and people are just hoping that eventually it's going to be solved.
I know what the problem is. You're just not that talented. Point blank. I think that's ultimately, on defense at least. On offense last week, I think Cliff Kingsbury, to his credit, was very open, honest, and transparent about what went wrong.
He got in his head a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he got out-coached. Point blank. He did not put them in the best position to succeed. I don't think they looked like a group that was prepared at all for what Brian Flores and company were throwing at you. And it's ironic because in the week leading up to last Sunday, he talked about being prepared for those unscouted looks. And quite frankly, they weren't at all. Jaden Daniels was 9-20 for 78 yards and an interception. Marcus Mariota came in, wasn't much better. So, yeah, this offense, who is going to have Terry and Noah and Debo once again here this week, albeit with Marcus Mariota at the helm, they've got to get back on track because that's the one side of the football and the one part of this team where you feel like, you know what, it ain't all bad in terms of like what you have from a personnel standpoint. I think you've got a legitimate, solid offensive line that's going to be, in the top 10 for 2 to 3 years to come. If you can keep the group together, I think the skill position spot, you have a number one wide receiver in Terry McLaurin. You just got to focus in the offseason on getting 2 or 3 more speed pieces to help out this offense on defense.
I don't know. Runners too.
Yeah, exactly. But on defense, I don't know who you're bringing back. And that's the tough part about all of this is that on that side of the football, you feel far away. But offensively, like we just mentioned, you have the personnel. It's just about going out and execute. And, like, when they say that, I genuinely believe them when they say that. on defense when they say we just got to execute. No.
It's not that you're bad.
Yeah, you don't just got to execute. You can't execute because you're not good, and that's the bigger problem.
I want to see the young guys play in snow today because I do have a feeling that today is going to be very much run heavy. I mean, if these two teams combine,
hope I don't fall asleep during the game.
This might go quicker than Army and Navy went yesterday.
Even last week went quick.
The first half of Army and Navy yesterday took an hour and 18 minutes.
This
might be a first half that takes an hour and 18 minutes. If these two teams combine for 40 throws, I would be impressed. But I would love to see like a Jordan McGee who played his college ball in Temple, a relatively cold environment at this point of the year. I'd love to see him when the objective is, hey, just play run fits. Yeah. Like, they're going to run the football. It's going to be physical. Go out there and be physical. And let's see some speed in the snow. Go make some good quality tackles. I'd love to see the UCLA guys get a little bit of burn on defense just to see, hey, can you play in the snow? Because if you're thinking moving forward here, you're going to be outdoors for the next couple of years. A lot of the good teams in the NFC seemingly are outdoors in cold weather environments. So get used to playing in the snow. Like, I'd love to use this game to get some of the young pieces. We've been saying, I'm like a broken record because we've been asking for this for 4 weeks because we have known, hey, the season is not very good.
Yeah.
This is not going to be a good end of the season. We have known that for quite some time, and they have never put the young guys in. I'd love to see these young guys get action when you kind of understand this is going to be a heavy running game. So let's at least use this game to work on something with guys that might be here, because you are correct. I mean, there's a lot of guys on this defense that are not going to be here next year, like an awful lot, an alarming amount, to the point where they're going to have to completely overthrow the entire roster going into 2026. But let's just see these young dudes knowing that New York is going to spend a lot of time running the football. No Cam Scatterbo, thank God. He would suck to tackle in a game like this.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy already sucks to tackle, but in the cold, like 20, 30 degrees. I mean, Nikki Javala pointed this out.
Yeah.
They were plowing the tarp, which is kind of new. I don't know that I've ever seen that before, where you get a snowplow on the tarp. Must be a heavy-duty tarp to hold a vehicle, but they were plowing the tarp over there, so it's going to be a very cold and painful day. Go out there and hit, man. Like, I need to see dudes make some good quality tackles. There's one thing I wanted to ask you real quickly before we get a break. Is Jaden done for the year? If he played 5 games in a row, he finishes that Minnesota game, good to go this week, I would be totally okay with it. But now that he's not going to go this week, how much can you really accomplish in the final 3 games of the season? Is it enough to bring him back? Does it justify bringing him back?
So they've screwed up a lot this year.
A lot.
They're not screwing this Jaden thing up. I trying to word this properly without totally outing myself. I would say this. I have some information from a well-placed source that says Jaden Daniels will play again this year, and he's probably going to give it a go next week. They wanted to give him this week to get unsore. He still has not been cleared for contact. Dan Quinn said that on Friday. Once he's healthy, he's going to play. I think they have the fundamental understanding in their building just of how relevant those reps are to him. I'm glad they feel that way because he needs it. And I want to see him down the stretch against one good defense. In Philadelphia, and then you get to see whatever
he light it up against Dallas.
So, in a Dallas defense that he has struggled with in his career to this point.
Right.
He got pulled in the first half in Week 18 last year. The first time they played him during his rookie season, he was probably had his worst start of the season. And then when we saw him earlier this year, he didn't look good against Dallas. So, yeah, I don't know if it's something about that scheme or whatever, but he needs to play against them.
It must be. And that defense, by the way, has gotten better since the acquisition of Quinn and Williams.
Yes.
Which kind of negates what Washington is hoping to do in the run game, because they've been one of the most frustrating parts about last week was how good they were running the football and then the abandoning of the run.
Yeah.
If he does play against Dallas, it's going to have to be a lot of dropbacks and making some good decisions, making some throws.
Yeah, and you want to see him in those, gotta have it pass situations, those obvious what do they call it in the NFL, third and pass or second and pass. Like, I want to see him in those.
Pass.
You know what I'm saying? I want to see him in the obvious passing situations, like you said, wanting to watch him go through his reads. And there are folks out there that are like, well, what does it matter? He could just do it next year. It's a muscle memory position, as I continue to say. I want to see him do it here in the final 3 weeks. If it's not going to be 4, because he's obviously missing today. It's been sloppy, though, with it, man. I don't totally understand. I got an explanation from somebody that's close to the thing as to why this thing went down the way that it did. Because I've been saying it all week until I got a nice DM on Thursday night that made no sense that Jaden Daniels was pulled, but they said he could return. Then they ruled him out on a Wednesday for a Sunday game.
It's been very confusing.
It
does feel like a little bit. One of the many issues that plagued the Ron Rivera regime is that it felt like they were tap dancing a little bit too much to social media opinions. And the way they've been handling the Jaden situation this year does feel like that maybe some of the stuff that is on social media is seeping into the walls. They've been very good about keeping the things inside, but it does feel like the way that they've been handling it, that it's more PR than anything. I've had issues with that.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Don't love it like you're alluding to, but I understand it. They're humans. People are human. You're going to read. You can say that you don't read social media. We know everyone reads
Everybody
social media.
reads
so I think it's fascinating. I just hope that it doesn't influence decision-making. This is the best way I would put it.
So what's on the line here for Washington? Does this game actually matter? The answer to that question is yes, and we'll explain why when we return. Chris Russell is going to join us in about 15 minutes. If you're listening on 106.7, you're getting the Hokies at 11:30. So make sure you go over to the Team 980. We're on the Odyssey app. We're on YouTube as well, so you can come hang out with us there. We'll tell you why this game does matter for Washington in the long term when we get back. He's the Noah Willingham. I'm Denton Day. It's a Burgundy and Gold pregame show live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax on the Team 980, 106.7 The Fan. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show. We are live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax. Come hang out with us. You want to come watch the game. Great food and drink special. Really come for the food and the drink, and then the game will also be on. But we'll be here as well. We're doing our halftime show, which will be live on Twitter and YouTube, and our postgame show, which is live on Twitter and YouTube as well. He's Leno Willingham. I'm Denton Day. Chris Russell will be with us in about 10 minutes here on the show. This game does have meaning, Linnell. It's just not meaning if you are a bad-to-the-bone competitor. If you care nothing about wins or nothing other than wins and wins and wins.
Can I show?
Deron Payne is shirtless out there.
Apparently, there are a bunch of shirtless commanders out there. Let me tell you this: if you do this stupid bit,
has that ever worked for anybody?
Of not wearing shirts, especially on defense, and then Tyrone Tracy comes out looking like the prime Herschel Walker against you, I'm gonna have a problem. I am. Just saying. Just want to put that out there in the ether. I love it if it's actually going to do something for you. But the Giants are like one of the three teams that Deron Payne shows up against. So I do expect him to play well, I guess. I think.
That bit has never worked.
No, it's never worked.
It's never worked.
It's probably the worst bit in sports.
The worst bit in sports.
Self-torture does nothing to...
It's so performative. You're allowed to acknowledge that it's cool. Like that dude in Buffalo, the no shoes guy, Mac Hollins or whatever, he walked in no shoes and shirtless into
DMV native
facility. He is DMV native. But it's so performative. I hate the fact that they're out there doing the no shirt bit. Just get warm. The part of the warm-up is to get warm. That's what that is. Yeah. That's what that's for. What's on the line for Washington today is draft position. I know a lot of people hate that conversation because it feels like we now are talking about tanking. But what's on the line is draft position. And if you lose to the Giants, you are 3-11, they are 3-11. I believe because of strength of record, they might still have tiebreakers because Washington had a tough strength of record. Therefore, the losing is more justified is the way the NFL looks at it. But it does position yourself to then be in the conversation for a legitimate game changer on defense. And that could be Caleb Downs, the safety at Ohio State. That could be Arbel Reese, the end from Ohio State. That could be Ruben Bain, the end from Miami. That could be Kendrick Falk, the end from Auburn. That could be David Bailey, the end from Tech. Like there are a lot of good defensive edge guys that are available. I know you are not I care about draft position when there's still games to be played kind of a guy, but we are at the point now where the season is not salvageable, and that does have to play a little bit of a factor in the back of the mind, especially with no Jaden Daniels playing when you're getting a backup quarterback in the game.
I mean, it does. You just got to look good. If you look good and lose, I feel good. If you look horrible and lose, I feel bad. I still am of the belief that like there are things that certain individuals can prove here down the stretch individually in terms of like how much they can be relied upon for next year. So that all goes into my process, but I get it. Like you want to be picking from the best pool of talent possible. That is what having the higher draft pick does for you. I'm also on this side of the coin as well, Denton. Like we were all salivating over that blue-eyed handsome devil, Adam Peters, not for his ability to trade, not for his ability to sign free agents, but for his ability to draft and develop. That, quite frankly, has not happened yet to this point. And this week in particular, in terms of just the way the conversation went, Dan Quinn totally got up at the podium and tap danced when asked about the 2024 class, basically saying it was too early to assess them. Well, there's 4 games left, brother. Turn your hat forward and give us an answer. But then he went on to give detailed answers about Jordan McGee and Jerzon Newton, 2 dudes that can prove a lot in terms of how much they can be relied upon here next year, depending on how they play down the stretch here with the Final Four. I don't know, man. It's a sucky position to be in. So, like, 2023 was so different because we were clearly taking for a quarterback. This year, it's like you're taking for what? Like, Adam, go pick players. That's what matters here. Go pick players because I just can't believe this organization's in the spot that they're in. We had 9 draft picks in year 1, 6 within the top 100. Then,
yeah,
and really, you only got 1 solidified starter, and that's Jaden Daniels.
1.5 with Sanders still, but
I'm not convinced he is a starting corner on a good team. I think he.
Are you fearful then if they decide to cut ties that it's going to be the Emmanuel Forbes thing all over again? Because like how do you balance the idea of the first 2 years have not been good for a lot of these guys. Well, Mikey did play good last year. Like, how do you balance cutting them loose if you don't think they're good versus what has happened with Emmanuel Forbes? And by the way, I think some of that is very much the fact that that defensive line in Los Angeles is mighty, right? And they're a very good group. But how do you make sure you're not getting rid of guys too early?
I'm not even talking about getting rid of him, Denton. I'm just talking about, like, not counting on him as a starter. Like, not everybody's drafted to be a starter. I think we all got to understand that. Those 3 second-round picks, they're talking about Ben Sinnott, Jazon Newton, and Mikey Samerstill. If you could have added 3 starters there to solidify positions for 4 years in the life of that rookie contract, you feel a heck of a lot better. Someone in the chat, Mighty Dread 1740, hope your dreads are mighty, my friend, writes, Ben Sinnott will get any targets today. Like, I think
better. I mean, who else are they going to throw to? I mean, like that is one of the things that would fall into what you were just saying. If there was a time where Ben Sinnott was going to make the transition from a primary blocking tight end to a then starter, pass catcher, factor on offense, that transition should be starting today. There's no Zach Ertz. You're definitely not going to have Zach Ertz in 2026 just due to the nature of the injury that took place. So that position is now open to be filled. It would be very nice if Ben Sinnott could come in, play well today. Again, I don't know how much they're going to throw the football today, so I do feel like that limits the amount of targets that he will get. But play well and prove to be a factor on offense. That way you don't have to go into 2026 thinking that tight end is high on the leaderboard. They could also go out there and sign a guy like Kyle Pitts, who when his quarterback throws to him, turns out he's actually pretty good. Who could have seen that one? Kirk Cousins was like, wow, that guy number 8's pretty good. I'm going to throw to him. And it has worked out tremendously. All right. When we get back, Chris Russell is going to join us. If you're listening on 106.7, you're about to be thrown to the Hokies basketball game. So if you want to stay with us, you got to flip over to the Team 980. You can go do it on YouTube as well. You can see our beautiful faces. I did my makeup for you. So come hang out with us. Chris Russell next on Burgundy Gold Pregame. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax. Need a place to watch the game? Come hang out with us. They got a great food and drink special. Washington in the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. We have the official list of inactives. No Jaden Daniels, we knew that. No Jonathan Jones, no Chris Rodriguez. I put a tweet out earlier today, Linnell, because of the snow, saying, oh, this would be a great Chris Rodriguez game. Wrong. No Chris Rodriguez. That means it'll be a great Bill or Jeremy McNichols game. No Trent Scott, no George Fant, no Drake Jackson. So any massive takeaway before we get to Chris Russell about those inactives?
Interested to see a heavy dose of Bill Merritt here today. And I think a lot of folks going into next year, Chris Rodriguez is a restricted free agent, so they're going to have to figure out, if they're going to tender him and try to bring him back. I think the running back position has been super interesting this year in terms of like how the volume of carries has fluctuated really on a week-in, week-out basis up until like the last 3 weeks when C-Rod has taken over as the bell cow. Now Bill has another opportunity, and if he runs well today, shocker, I'm going to want to see more Bill.
Run the damn Bill, right? Remember that bit that we were doing 6 weeks ago? All right, let's go out to our guy, Chris Russell. He's the host of the Chris Russell Show on the Team 980, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, every Monday through Friday. Roos, your reaction to some of these inactives and not getting to see Chris Rodriguez go today for the Commanders?
Yeah, good morning, boys. Thanks for having me as always. Yeah, I mean, disappointing. I guess it was heading towards that. And when you look at that, the weather and that turf, right, which everybody is convinced has ghosts living in it, and you look at just how unstable that playing surface is probably going to be, this is probably the right thing. Even if he could go and, if there's any question, at this point, you don't need a torn groin or anything like that, or a torn hamstring or anything of the sort, especially with, again, the weather and that turf being compromised. So not a surprise. I mean, obviously we knew about Jaden. I don't know when Drake Jackson is ever going to be ready. I mean, that's kind of a weird thing. You guys mentioned it's time to run the damn Bill. Well, okay, let's go. Let's get him going. Let's get him going in space. You got these two great tackles. Let's use them in space. Let's get them downhill. Let's get them on the edge. Let's stretch out that Giants defense. Let's not try and run against Dexter Lawrence right up the middle. Let's try and do some things to make this easier for Marcus Mariota. Mariota
is in this situation coming off of what happened last weekend. If they suffer another 21-plus point loss here in the final month of the season, what does it do for you? And is there anything that can transpire here over the next month that would warm up the seat of the head coach or the general manager?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's 4 uncompetitive losses, and uncompetitive mostly throughout, not where it just gets out of control late fourth quarter kind of thing. If it's 4 largely uncompetitive losses, how could you not question where this program is heading? Which sounds insane after the year that they had last year. And a year ago at this point, we were like, oh my God, they hit nirvana, right? But that's how quick things change in the NFL. We know this. And D-Day, you deal with this in college all the time, right? Like, there was a Tennessee defensive coordinator that was the coach of the year or whatever a year ago, and then they're in the playoffs and everything's great, and he was fired less than a year later, and okay, maybe it was because they could get a Jim Knowles, whatever. I mean, things happen. We all understand that sports, professional, and I include college now as professional, there is no patience, right? So yeah, if they're largely uncompetitive, even if it's 3 out of 4 blowouts, right? And Christmas Day is 30,000 people that made the trek out to Northwest Stadium, and 25,000 of them are Cowboys fans. And even if the Cowboys don't need that game, right? If it's ugly and if the optics are ugly, yes, you have to consider it. My greatest fear is, and I'm not advocating that they should be fired, I'm just saying that, yes, you have to think about it. My greatest fear is that they are going to attribute this season solely to injury. And that is a problem if they do that. If that is their mentality, yes, it's a big deal. No, it's not the only reason why this team has sucked all year long.
Roost, I kind of alluded to that earlier. I've had a little bit of an issue over the past couple of weeks of them kind of being like, we don't know what the problem is, but we're trying to fix it. It's always a lot easier when you have a definitive problem that you can then make a definitive solution. But if they don't know what the problem is, it almost feels like that they would just do what your worst fear is, which is fall back on injuries and say, well, let's give it a go and hope that 2026 we're much more healthier. And I don't know that that's going to be a great way to undo some of the mishappenings that have taken place this year.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, D-Day. I mean, like, look, I do understand and rationalize, right? I think we all do, that injuries played a huge factor. It's just huge, right? Nobody's trying to deny that, but it's not the only reason. This team wasn't right from literally late July on. They were never right. When healthy, they were never right. And they were, and I don't know if that's soft training camp. I don't know if that's waiting until mid-July to finally acquire an edge pass rusher in a draft that was loaded and a free agency class that had certainly some options when you're trying to save $25 million under the cap. Whatever the case might be, they chose to upgrade and improve the offensive line and the secondary. And I think they did a pretty good job of that, even though things did not work out well on the back end of the defense. But that's what they chose instead of trying to incrementally improve the rest of the roster, and specific to that defensive end, and specific to that people you could count on. I know Von Miller stayed healthy. I know Von Miller's got 5.5, 6 out, whatever. I need less 36-year-olds, more 26-year-olds, if that makes sense, right? Guys right into their prime, guys that can hold up. And again, I say that with Von Miller having stayed healthy, but we know Von Miller hasn't made like a tremendous impact all around, right? I need more of that. And now you have to fix the secondary again. And you have to fix the wide receiver group and decide what you're going to do with Debo and still fix and add to it. Now you've got to go get a pass catching tight end. You need a number one running back or somebody with some sizzle, which they don't have. Quite honestly. And don't forget, guys, they need to make sure Marcus Mariota is coming back as the backup quarterback, because as we proved this year, not only are backup quarterbacks really important, but third string quarterbacks are really important. And he's a free agent, meaning Mariota. So is Josh Johnson. And you got to have somebody that's capable of starting 7, 8, 9, 10 games without it being a major eyesore, which I think is Mariota. But like, there's a lot to do here. There is a lot to do. If they look in the mirror and say, no, this is about injuries primarily and mostly, and we're just going to do some cosmetic improvements, that is the wrong prism to be looking at.
Chris, do you think as Washington wraps up the final month of the season here, internally, do you think there is legitimate optimism about what they have moving forward, or do you think they're looking at each other saying, what the hell's going on right now?
If they're being honest with each other, if they're looking in the same mirror that I think the three of us are looking in, I don't know how you could feel good. Like, you could feel hopeful. I wouldn't even term it optimistic.
Chris, look at it through this prism, though. And this is me, I guess, trying to play devil's advocate. You're 2 years into your rebuild, and you found your franchise quarterback seemingly, and you have your offensive line in place for the next 3 to 4 years. If you can get the Tunsil thing done, if you can get Chris Paul done, isn't that a good start, I guess, to rebuilding a roster that was one of the worst in football?
Yes. You hope that your franchise quarterback is still your franchise quarterback, right? Because in addition to the injury and all the injury concerns, and that will always be a case, I tried to tell you that 2 years ago, nobody wanted to hear it. In addition to that, you have to hope that he hasn't regressed for any other reason other than lack of practice and lack of game time. Number one. Number two, as far as Tunsil goes, right? Look, I know he's been very, very, very good. You got to pay him over $100 million probably, and a lot of guaranteed money. Now, worth it, yes, but that's going to compromise you in terms of your ability to improve elsewhere, especially if, and again, in conjunction, as you mentioned, Chris Paul went out. So I don't even know if the offensive line is set, right? I mean, you could, people are going to not like this at all. You could think about dangling a Laramie Tunsil again on the trade market to see if you can get a younger left tackle and
Chris,
replace some of those draft picks or replace or get some young core guys on the roster. You could do that. I'm not suggesting they do that or will do that. You could do it.
What would be the benefit in it, though, man?
What I just said.
But at the same time, you're creating another.
I understand.
Hole.
There is. That's why I said you could do it. Not that they will do it or likely to do it. It's just a thought of, hey, how do we take about $55 million in free agency? Because that's roughly what they're going to have. I mean, give or take, roughly. And how do we have, with only 6 draft picks right now? And again, the part of me is like, hey, man, you get stuck on the 3rd pick, the 4th pick, wherever you wind up at the end of the year. Maybe it's even higher than that. I am hell-bent on trading down because this team needs resources. This team needs a lot more than one player, one pick, one game-changing potential guy. Because as we know, right, not everybody, even as a top 5 pick, comes in and immediately kicks ass. I mean, look at the team that they're playing today, right? Andrew Thomas at left tackle has been great when he's healthy. He's never healthy, or he's rarely been healthy. Evan Neal, they took with the 7th overall pick. Evan Neal was a complete bust, right? So that's part of the reason why the Giants are still struggling. So my point being is, to me, you have to give yourself as many cracks at the piñata as you possibly can. And with $55-ish million and, again, needing a big extension on Tunsil, $100+ million, God knows the guarantee, needing to deal with Debo, needing a pass-catching tight end that they do not have, needing, an edge pass rusher, maybe even a defensive tackle if they decide to cut bait with Daron Payne, needing more linebackers, at least 1, if not 2, needing more help. I mean, at some point you run out of resources. This team does not have enough resources to cover what they need. So they might have to be bold and aggressive and out of context, if you will.
Well, Chris, the guy that was drafted this year that started the season struggling and has since, I think, played pretty well is Josh Connerly.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's going to see a lot of Brian Burns. What are you looking for in that, Matt? Burns being one of the leading sackers in the NFL behind Myles Garrett, who's a country mile away from everybody.
Yeah.
But Burns is 13 this year.
Yeah.
What do you think that matchup's going to look like?
Yeah, you hope Burns slips and falls and like a couple of times on that stupid turf, right? With the ice and the cold and whatever. I mean, listen, if you're Josh Connerly, if you hold him to 1 sack and a couple of pressures, 2-3 pressures, I'm not going to say those 2 magic numbers because that's too high, and that's stupid. But 2, 3, 4 pressures, I guess, especially if it's the hurry kind of pressure as opposed to the quarterback hit or knockdown kind of pressure, then I think I think if you're Josh Connerly, you put your snow cap on, you put your helmet on, and you feel good, about your performance, on a day like this. Now, what I really hope, I'm sure they're going to pay extra attention with chips and tight end, and multiple tight ends, right? I expect a lot of 12 and 13 and all that stuff, right? Because they don't have pass catching tight ends, but they need to run the football. We just talked about Bills, so on and so forth. And, so I hope they have not forgotten about how good Abdul Carter can be, because I see this game with Mariota holding on to the ball as long as he tends to do, especially on 3rd down. Okay, we're going to pay all this attention to Burns, and then we're going to forget about Abdul Carter or even Dexter Lawrence, right? Think about that.
Chris, the one guy that's going to get a start today that it feels like no one's really mentioning, Antonio Hamilton Sr., and going back to really the preseason, his play on special teams has been good. He's a veteran player that's been around here for a while. If this is some sort of extended absence here to end the season for Jonathan Jones, and even if it's not, are any of the current guys that are playing, Mikey Sainristil, Noah Igbenogany, Antonio Hamilton, Jonathan Jones, are they legitimate candidates to be the starting corner opposite Trey Amos next year, assuming that's his role?
Yes. Jones is a free agent, right? If I'm not mistaken. He only signed a 1 year.
I know people want to get younger, but He's played really well this year when he's played.
but he only signed a 1-year deal, if I'm not mistaken, right? So I mean, you'd have to bring him back. I mean, look, we played the San still dance, inside, outside, inside, outside. They still, we'll see what happens with that. Either way, I think they need to hit the free agent market, quite honestly, for another veteran corner. Again, not ideally somebody that's 30 or 31. Somebody that's 26 or 27, and I haven't looked enough at the list yet to identify a name or two. That'll obviously be to come, but yeah. I mean, how could you trust overall what you have in Mikey Sanders still right now? And because Jonathan Jones is a free agent, and because he's a leader and a 2-time Super Bowl champion and has played pretty well, as you alluded to, I would expect that there's going to be some competition for him in the marketplace. So to me, this team, Lattimore will obviously be released whenever they can do that procedurally with his injury, which I assume they can do, I don't know, as late as mid-August or whenever whenever he can pass a physical, right? Because he's got to do that, I think, in order to cut him and to shed that salary. But until you can shed that salary, you don't have that. That salary counts against your books. So, I don't expect it to be a big splash, but they in a passing league still, they need more help. And here's another thing. Amos is not a guarantee. Number one, we've seen first year to second year regression, as we saw with Mikey Sanders and others. Two, he's been banged up all year, not just this injury. Remember, guys, he was banged up throughout camp. He was banged up a little bit early in the regular season. So I hope Amos is the real deal and everything that we saw, but he's got to stay on the field.
Yeah.
All right, Roost, we got 30 seconds. Who wins today?
Well,
who cares?
Yeah. A, that's the best question. B, I look, the Giants have been, they've had nice sized leads on the road against really good teams, Detroit, Denver, and blown them. I think Theo Johnson has a huge game today. If you get a prop bet, touchdown plus, the 2 touchdowns worth $1, worth $2. I think that's going to be the thing. I think the Giants cover. I think the Giants win.
All right, Roost, we appreciate it. We look forward to your breakdown tomorrow.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate you. Have one for me.
That is Chris Russell, host of the Chris Russell Show, 1 to 4 every Monday through Friday on the Team 980. When we get back, you will hear from the Sports Junkies. How do they see this game going? He's Leno Willingham. I'm Dead Day. It's a Burgundy Gold pregame show. It's the Burgundy and Gold pregame show. He is Leno Willingham. I'm Denton Day. We are live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax. You need a place to come watch the game. Come hang out with us. They got great specials on food and drinks. You get a little bit of brunch action as well. And Ellen and I are salivating over this brunch menu.
I'm ready to roll.
Grant Paulson's going to join us in about 10 minutes here on the program. But now we're going to kick it out to the boys in the morning, the Junkies. How do they feel this game is going to go? Fellas, what are you looking at?
All right, boys. The Commanders have lost 8 in a row. They won't have Jaden Daniels under center. He's been shut down. But they take on a Giants team that's lost 7 in a row. What are our expectations?
Hopefully I have something to do and I don't have to watch the game. To be honest, maybe I can get like a flat tire or something. I don't know, man. It's just such an uninspiring game. Maybe watch Jackson Dart, see what he's got. He seems fun to watch. I'm having a very hard time getting excited to watch Marcus Mariota play again.
Well, that's what happens when you get blasted 31-0 by the Vikings and your team just look. Let's be honest. The Commanders last week in Minnesota, they looked lifeless. So if you're looking for something to grasp at this game, it's what is the response? Do these guys have it still in them in a lost season where there's no playoffs in sight for this team to come out and be competitive in a division game with their backup quarterback? Can they stop Jackson Dart, who's showed some really good flashes during his rookie campaign? Now, he's also shown a propensity for reckless play and, getting injured. So we'll have to see if the defense can respond from, look, let's be honest. J.J. McCarthy did whatever he wanted last week against this defense. Can they show some more, toughness against this Giants unit this weekend?
I think you're right, Cakes. 2 weeks ago, we were pretty optimistic when they played the Broncos. It was like, okay, this team is competing, had a chance to win against a team that only has 2 losses this year, one of the best teams in the NFL. And you used the word lifeless. I think that's correct. Coach Quinn needs this team to respond because it's not a hot seat yet, but some of the fan base is getting a little restless. When you lose 8 games in a row, they need a win. And it's going to be Mariota under center. I get it, EB. You're not excited to see Mariota. You want to see Jaden Daniels under center, but I think you want to see a dub.
Oh, I definitely want to see a win. Of course, I'm always wired that way. It's hard to imagine it. At least a couple of weeks ago, we had the spark of DQ leading the defense, and then they have that dud last week. And then when you look at what the Giants have done, they're losing. Okay, but outside of that Patriot game, they've scored 27, 20, 20, 24, 20, 32. Like, they score points. Imagine what's going to happen when they play us.
No, look, Jackson Dart's pretty good when he's been able to stay healthy. His last outing, he's 17 of 24, completed 70% of his passes, had a touchdown. He can run. So that's going to be a challenge for the defense. Offensively, I think the one big positive for the Commanders this year has been the offensive line.
Yeah.
The running game has been a little inconsistent. I mean, when you look at the stats, they're up there, but that includes quarterback rushes. I think you want to see the running game to get that going. Mm-hmm. And then, Ben Sinnott is going to get his opportunity, Cakes. That's your guy. Ben Sinnott should get an opportunity.
As a reason to watch this game.
People have been curious. People have been curious. And if he's been held back because of Zach Ertz, well, now there's no Zach Ertz. So let's see what you got in these last 4 games.
Well, when you spend the 53rd overall pick, I believe that's what Adam Peters used on Ben Sinnott, you want him to be more than just a blocking tight end. You want him to have impact on games, catching the ball, scoring touchdowns, helping the offense. And hopefully you'll see some of that in this last month of the season.
All right, I'll lead off. I'm going to hold my nose, but I'm going to take the Commanders 21-17.
Even though I think the interim coach for the Giants, Mike Kafka, is a Class A dud. I mean, he just seems like a remarkable loser. I still think there's a way that he gets this Giants team. By the way, they're coming off a bye week, so they're well-rested and refreshed. The Commanders are not. I think the Giants find a way to eke out a win. I think Jackson Dart is going to be too much for the Commanders' defense to handle. Let's go Giants 24, Commanders 20.
Don't get carried away on Jackson Dart. He had 139 yards passing in his last outing.
I don't think he's great. You know who else isn't great? J.J. McCarthy.
That's a good point.
And he looked like Joe Montana against this defense just last week.
You don't have to be great when you play Washington.
Correct.
I don't know, man. I think this game could be a debacle. I'm having a hard time coming up with a situation where we can force punts. I have that every week. So I have them. You know what? They've scored a lot. I have them scoring 28, 4 touchdowns. And I think our offense is putrid right now. I'm going to go 28-2. Safety.
28.
I like that score.
28-2.
All right, not a lot of optimism from the junkies. Back to you, boys.
Fellas, appreciate
It's
it.
not bad.
28-2 popped me a little bit. That's a funny bit. I like it.
They lose 28-2.
I think I'll be doing the post game solo if they lose 28-2.
If they lose 28-2, I mean that would be rough.
It would be another blowout. They likely weren't even close. I mean, it would just be a bad situation.
Is it? I mean, I don't know. But when hearing them describe it, like it's not totally.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. Honestly, I feel like it would be more natural to think 28-0. Like if they get a safety, but they can't score a touchdown.
Oh,
that would be a terrible.
That's what I don't need though, is for the offense to just clam up down the stretch. The one piece of the team in which we all have this like unwavering optimism about moving forward. Like if they don't look good to finish the season, then I think you really got to consider making a switch with the OC.
I mean, it's already too late. They already don't look good.
Well,
it's just now the final few games. All right, when we get back, Grant Paulson will join us. Kevin Sheehan will be with us at 12:30. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Leno Willingham, live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax on the Team 980. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show alongside Leno Willingham. I am Denton Day, live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax. If you need a place to watch the game, come hang out with us. We'll do our halftime show and our postgame show from here as well. That'll be live on social media, on YouTube and Twitter. I'm reacting, Linnell, during every single commercial break to the Shirts Off Madness. that is taking
So
place in the
stupid.
Meadowlands, the worst bit of all time. And I'm honestly a little offended that the Commanders are partaking in that particular bit. This is going to be a unique game for Washington because of the weather. It's going to feel like it's a heavy run-focused game, but you're also making some pretty massive changes from last week to this week with the absence of now Zach Ertz, who got hurt last week against Minnesota. He is done for the year. Just based off his age, it could be he's done for the career. That, though, does open an opportunity, shall we say, for either John Bates, who John Bates is pretty solidified on the team, Colson Yankoff, or Ben Sinnott to fill the position of one Zach Ertz, who was the primary pass-catching tight end. How do you foresee that taking place today, assuming that Washington throws the ball more than like 20 times?
I think it's a bigger conversation that needs to be had because this is one of the spots on the roster where they thought they drafted someone in year one to be a successor. And 2 years on the job, he looks like the furthest thing from a successor. You saw that with Jazon Newton in round 2 as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think we would want it to be Benson. You got to show that bad boy off. That looks absolutely amazing. This is why you come to Honor Brewing, by the way, folks, to come check out the pregame show with us because they have the best of everything.
Nice mug of coffee right here. This is going
Beautiful
to be
mug of
delicious.
coffee. And look, I'm going to tell our waiter, I am a coffee virgin. So I've never had
trying to
coffee
get him
before
on
in my
coffee
life.
for forever.
This may be the place that gets me to do it. But I think with Ben Sinnott at the tight end position, you hope that he turns into a legitimate pass catching target. But to this point, it doesn't seem likely. And I'm to the point where, like, if I'm the coaching staff, I don't want you to double down on a personnel mistake. If you drafted Ben Sinnott in the second round to be your pass catching tight end of the future, and he's just not that, doesn't mean steal opportunities away from Colson Yankoff, who clearly seems like he's earned his way into the good graces of this coaching staff just because Sinnott is a second-round pick, right? This is the whole mantra of this organization, competition everywhere all the time. Just because Ben Sinnott was a second-round pick doesn't mean he just should get to be the Zach Ertz successor. It's about putting the best guy out there, and I think there's a calculation or a misstep, rather, in their calculations this summer. You shouldn't have brought back both Ertz and Bates if you had any confidence in Ben Sinnott. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And John Bates got a 3-year deal.
Yeah. So
the confidence in John Bates is very high to say, hey, we think that you're going to be here for a number of years. If Colson Yankoff takes over for Ertz and it's not Ben Sinnott, that's going to be a disaster. We'll put that conversation on pause. We'll welcome in our guy, Grant Paulson. He's the co-host of Grant Danny every Monday through Friday, 106.7 The Fan, 2 to 6:30 p.m. Grant, we're talking about our team falling to one of the worst bits of all time. The defense is going shirts off to prove that it's not cold. How do you feel about that?
Ooh, you know what? If they're having a little bit of fun and fired up before the game, I'll wait until they play badly to get upset. Let's say they go out there and play well. Then I can get down with this. So I will hold my frustrations until post game if they go out there and play poorly. But I guess I don't hate it.
It's a bad bit. I'll be honest. It's a bad bit. I don't know what it does. Just try to get warm because, like, that's the goal. Like, if you're gonna do no shirts, then I don't want to see jackets on the sideline. Then I don't want to see hair. Just go the full frozen bit all the way. Grant, we were just having this conversation before we brought you on. I'm in the camp of I don't want Adam Peters and the coaching staff to potentially double down on a personnel mistake. If Colson Yankoff is the better receiving tight end at this point than Ben Sinnott, are you okay with him being the guy getting the reps?
Well, first off, I think you can get both of them reps. Yeah, because I think they should be running more multi-tight end sets than they already do. So ideally, you do the right thing, which is to get into 12 and 13 personnel, and they're both on the field with John Bates. I certainly get your point, but I think we got to find out. Like, I think when you draft Ben Sinnott, this is not a 5th-round pick. This was basically a top 50 pick in round 2.
Right.
So I need to play him now. Zach Ertz has started in every game since he's been here. The opportunity to get Ben Sinnott involved because of that has been lesser. So Colson Yankoff was an undrafted free agent, might end up being better, and it's certainly shown like he's an athlete. This is a guy that went in the backfield and got carries at UCLA for people that don't know. But I think now you got an opportunity to find out what sin it is, and I think you have to do that. So I don't know that it's doubling down yet on a mistake. I certainly get your logic, but I'm finding out for the next month what he can do, what he can't do, how good he is, giving him a real showcase and some runway here. And then you could start to transition to Yankoff maybe in the offseason if you wanted to do that.
How much times do you think they will actually end up throwing the ball today in this weird snowy weather game?
Well, that's the shame of it is they need to do that, right? They need the evaluation. So I would imagine they will. I mean, they should be very balanced. I think against the Giants anyway, running the ball as a philosophy is the play. This is kind of my game plan is just to ground and pound it a little bit. But in their offense, the horizontal raid, whatever we're going to call it, short and intermediate, you're only taking a couple of shots maybe. I don't know that there's – I mean, short of it being, 25-mile-an-hour winds and real, legit snowstorm, I don't know. You see this all the time. There's snow games where guys have huge games throwing the football because the receivers know where they're going and cutting in and out of breaks and things like that, and the defenders don't. So it shouldn't really be that hard to move the football on short and intermediate throws in this league, in this weather.
Grant, it's hard to really focus in a lot on this year when you consider, what's left to play for here down the stretch. Just another big picture question here for you. When you look at the 3 second-round picks from 2024 and Sennett, Jerzon Newton, and Mikey Sainristil, are you sure that either of those guys can end up as long-term starters here, or are there question marks about all three here still?
There's questions on all three for sure. I would go Sharpie, Sainristil, Henn, Newton, Pencil, Sennett, I guess.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm thinking. I mean, Johnny Newton, a lot like a Ben Sennett. I no longer feel about him how I did when they drafted him. Like when I say he'll be here and he'll be able to contribute through his contract, I'm talking about like a rotational defensive tackle piece where you put him in the right downs and distances on passing downs. You try to get him outside the guard. You get him up the field. Like standing there at the D tackle or nose position or something on a rundown is a problem. Yeah. So we've kind of figured that part out.
Right.
So I think there's, luckily for him, it's not quarterback or tailback or something where only one can be on the field. Like there's a rotational role there for him. I would say the same about Sennett. It's not what you wanted when you drafted him. When you drafted him, you're hoping he's Cooley or he's, a Juszczyk or something like that, right? Now you kind of feel like, okay, well, this is a guy that can be on my roster as a third tight end type. You don't want to do that in the second round. You want Logan Paulson, undrafted free agent out of UCLA, like Colson Yankoff style. But the one guy I would say is Sainristil, going back to the top, where when he's been outside, last year he was excellent. This year he hasn't been. The balance sheet is still, I would say, in the neutral area where it's like, okay, he's been pretty solid over a season and a half. And outside it's been a lot better than inside. So maybe you just come to the realization by year's end, that's where he should be. And you go find a nickel corner. And you've got a guy outside that you feel like as a corner too could actually be an answer and a starter for you.
Grant, in the offseason, we loved Bill. He played really well in the first few weeks of the season, had the fumble issue, and seemingly was put in the doghouse. With no Chris Rodriguez today in a snow game, do you think this is where Bill gets back in the good graces of the coaching staff?
I do, actually. I would be really surprised if Bill doesn't have a nice game. I think there's an opportunity here. You saw him play well against the Giants in week one, had the big 40-yard run, I think it was, to put the game away for starters. But on top of that, this is just a bad run defense. Now, they're going to look better today, I think, because in this weather and with this situation for Washington, they're basically going to say Marcus Mariota beat us and stack the box. And they're going to challenge McLaurin and some of the other guys outside to win vertically. So it's not going to be maybe as porous up front as it normally is. It'll be a little bit more muddy in the run game. That said, they just don't do it well. They've got a group of personnel right now that wants to get after the quarterback. That's going to be the priority for them. So I think he's going to be able to put together a 4.5 to 5.5 yard per carry day, 16, 17 carries, upwards of close to 100 yards. If they can stay on the field, they got to convert on third, which means staying ahead of the sticks. Because if you're not getting 50 or 55 plays, you're probably not giving him the ball more than 15 times. But I think that's the path here. So I predicted, I think yesterday, something like, 16 carries for like 96 yards or something. That's kind of the way I see today going.
Grant, I got to check out you and Danny a lot this week. And one of the conversations I stumbled upon with you guys is just, well, is the seat warm at all for either Adam Peters or Dan Quinn. I think it's a totally relevant conversation at this point. What is the reaction, though, I guess in either of the final 4 games, Grant, to another 21-plus
It's
point
a really
loss?
good question. Yeah, this is kind of what we were talking about. Is we never posed it on the phone. We came to this realization every day in like the show meetings when we're going over different conversations that are interesting or whatever. I've shot down this idea of Dan Quinn's seat being warm, or that it should be, because I think we all agree. I don't want to speak for you, but I don't think he's going anywhere no matter what happens. Like if they lose 12 in a row, they're not firing Dan Quinn, right?
I agree.
Having said, so my point is I'm shooting it down and being like, oh, come on, he's not going anywhere. But what I said this week was, and I said, if they lose to the Giants, I'm willing to like actually have the conversation next week of, I know he's not going anywhere, but should it be on the table? Because my point, Linnell, is it's really hard to lose 12 in a row in this sport.
And dude, the numbers you put up from Pro Football Reference, I've been using it all week. I mean, it's alarming.
It's crazy, man. And like, if you're, I'm trying to think of the right way to word this, but like, if you have a healthy, like bones to your operation, I think about it like a jug of milk or something. Like if it's not rotten and it doesn't smell really bad, guess what, man? You find a way at some point to win a football game over 3 months.
Right.
You know? So when you're talking about losing 12 in a row potentially down the stretch, I think there's something very wrong internally here, possibly. Yes, you got to go back to the drawing board. Yes, there are injuries. Yes, you got to add more talent, all that stuff. But bad teams, the Titans, like who's the worst team in the league right now? The Giants. They don't lose 12 in a row. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So the Raiders won't have that happen this year. And that's where I come in and say it should be on the table. It should. I don't think the GM change. Like normally a GM is going to get a couple opportunities with coaches, right? But they got to have a better offseason. There's no doubt. But I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he should, for the record, after last year. The NFC Championship game, I've been saying, gets them a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Right.
But for the first time, if they lose today, come Tuesday, Wednesday this week, I will be having the discussion of, should this be on the table? Is this a fair conversation? And my answer to both of those is yes.
All right, Grant. Well, come Tuesday, Wednesday, are you having those conversations? What happens today? Do they lose to the Giants?
I picked them to beat the Vikings, and they lost 31-0 because I'm a big dumb idiot. I said going into the Vikings game they were going to win both of those games. I'm going to pick them today. Here's the realization I've come to on this. It's basically I think it's too hard to not win again. Like I can't see them going L12. Yeah. And I don't think they beat the Eagles or the Cowboys. So with that in mind,
today's it.
If they lose this game, then at some point they're going to accidentally win one of those other games. Like it just doesn't happen. You know, these empty calorie December wins, every week, you know, the Titans won last week, or the Browns accidentally beat someone, or the Packers are a 13-point favorite and somehow drop a game. Like it just happens in this league. So this week, pick 'em game against the Giants, do theory. I'm going to say they win like 20-17. But if they lose this, buckle up, boys.
He is Grant Paulson. Grant, appreciate it as always, and try and enjoy this game.
Yeah, no doubt. It's football, man. We only get 17 of these, so we'll work it out.
That is Grant Paulson, host of Grant Denny, 2 to 6:30, Monday through Friday on 106.7 The Fan. I like the statistical improbability angle that he's taking. That's a lot more fun when you know, you get to the NFC Championship with a rookie quarterback. You're like, well, this isn't supposed to happen, and you're just enjoying it.
Yeah.
It's a lot less fun being like, well, statistically, they just can't lose this many in a row, right?
Yeah.
And we'll see about that.
We're going to see. This sucks, by the way.
It was a lot more enjoyable last year, dude. I mean, this job's always fun in some capacity, but it was a lot more
the job's,
enjoyable.
I'm just saying, like, being back to watching them play just meaningless football, like, that was the special part, I think, about last year. Every week mattered.
Everything.
You know? And this is just,
and now it's just like, are they going to get the third pick or the sixth pick?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? We're back to that, back to square one. All right. In 15 minutes, Kevin Sheehan's going to jump on with us. Coming up next, we will give you some keys to a win for Washington. He's Leno Willingham. I'm Den Day. It's a Burgundy and Gold pregame show on the Team 980. Kevin Sheehan in 10 minutes here. He's Leno Willingham. I'm Denton Day. It's the Burgundy and Gold pregame show live from Honor Brewing in Sterling. It's time for some keys to a win for the Commanders. They're taking on the Giants, looking to avoid going to 3-11. It doesn't even sound right when I say that out loud, Linnell, but that's the reality of what this season has been. Your first key, what does Washington need to do to come away victorious and snap this insane losing skid that they're on?
This is so hard because this segment was built to really provide analysis to games that matter. In this game, no matter how much I fake it, I didn't even wake up with the same juice today. Like, normally, I
had to manufacture it. You know what I used to get me juiced up? This is 100% real. I used an old song from a John Cena promo bit.
Wow.
That John Cena versus The Rock, the Invincible song. I had to listen to that 2 times on the drive over here.
Yeah, I mean so I don't even know if I want to give you a traditional key. I'm so hell bent on the idea of them competing. I don't know if the program, or as Dan Quinn calls it, the brotherhood, can withstand another 21-plus point loss. I don't know.
They cannot.
If the messaging hits the same, if you're continuously getting curb stomped week in and week out, I just want them to compete all 3 phases. Like, don't beat yourself, obviously, but compete, play hard, run, hit, play with a purpose. I know I'm telling the people here that the game is meaningless. Don't treat it that way if you're a player. Like, I don't want to see, 2014 or 2013 Kansas City at home when it was Robert's farewell.
45 to 10.
I don't want to see that.
Don't need that. The players need to be just crazy enough to think that this game matters.
Yeah, and I would think that like guys in this locker room have the mentality. That's why I keep saying it's the big benefit of having legitimate veterans within the organization. Like, no matter if you're out of the playoffs or not, like, you're never not playing for anything as an NFL player. Because I'm telling you, one game gets people paid.
Oh yeah.
Can I remind you of Matt Flynn? Like that's something, man. Like that to me matters here, man. You got to compete. You got to put good stuff on tape for your future employers here potentially. And like I've been saying for the last 6 or 7 weeks, you have a CVS receipt full of needs right now. I know it's a small sample size, but there's something you can take away if certain people play well here down the stretch to say, hey, maybe I can count on them going into training camp and going into next year.
So that's one of my keys that I would like to see. It really starts on defense because that's the side of the football that we have the most question marks about. Defensively, can you go out there and tackle? In a game where it's going to be heavy running the football in the snow, can you go out there and tackle? Now, in fairness, that hasn't really been an issue for Washington, I feel like, a lot of the time this year, Linnell. It's just that they're not in the right spot to make a tackle. But I feel like when they tackle, they're very good at it. But I would like to see that, especially as we hopefully transition to getting more of the younger players on the field more. I know they're doing a social media push for Bobby Wagner to be a Pro Bowler. I don't need that right now. I want to see Jordan McGee. I would like to see Kane Medrano. The UCLA linebackers are both active today. I would like to see some of them get defensive snaps to just assess and see what they look like. So can you tackle? Can you fill the right gaps? Can you understand the run fits and what you're trying to do? Can you move bodies at the line of scrimmage instead of getting moved at the line of scrimmage? They're plowing up there because of the snow. Don't get plowed by the offensive line in New York, and an offensive line that, all things considered, is not exceptionally great. So this should be a game where you can do some really good things on the defensive side. I would like to see that. So I want to see guys play good defense, make a bunch of tackles, and get these young guys in action.
I'm glad you brought up Kane Medrano because correct me if I'm wrong here with my thought process. Last year, you went into the draft with clearly limited amount of capital. So I would think that you're picking guys that can contribute right away. In the case of Kane Medrano, like, I'm going to go back to what I mentioned before. Like, I think the casual NFL fan doesn't understand what happens during the week in practice. It is like a glorified turkey bowl. Like, that is what NFL practice is, especially this time of the year. If you're not giving him defensive snaps in a game, how can you tell if he can do the job or not? You cannot evaluate linebacker in practice in season. I don't care if he can drop to his zone in 7-on-7 when they're doing that stuff. Like that's like a given. I want to see, is he going to fill a gap when a pulling guard's coming at him? Or is it fight or flight? Like, are you going to be a pansy, or are you going to really go try to knock someone's block off? Like, that stuff you can only see then if you play these guys. So, like, I get it. There are folks out there holding water for the organization saying, you don't just play the young guys just for the sake of playing the young guys. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Because that's the only way you can tell.
You're 3-10.
What do you have to lose?
At this point, this is when you would then play the young guys just for the sake of playing the young guys, because I'm in 100% agreement with you. You do not get better at playing football by not playing football. Yeah. There's a one very good way to get better, and is to get out there on the field. To quote Cliff Kingsbury from the offseason, you need time on grass.
Yeah.
Get out there, get on the turf. One final key for me. We're pushing Kevin Sheehan, by the way. He's not going to join us. He's stuck on a train. So I'm going to go a little bit longer with my keys here. Run the damn bill. Remember that bit, guys? Remember when we were doing the run the damn bill bit? Let's get back to that bit. No Chris Rodriguez today. It's a heavy snow game. The weather's weird. The field is icy. If it's warming up, it's going to be slushy. It's going to be wet. It's going to be slipping and sliding. This is a prototypical run the football kind of game, which is really good for the Commanders' offense, because when they talk to us, they being the coaching staff, about how they envision this offense, they envision it as a run-first offense. So let's run first. Get Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt back in the saddle. It feels like since he's had that fumbling issue, really against the Bears, it was like kind of the last time we really saw him, it feels like. That was months ago. Let's get him back in the saddle. Chris Rodriguez not going. Run the damn bill. Let's see what he can do. It wasn't all that long ago where he was going for $150 against the Chargers, and we are trying to feel like, hey, can we get this guy a Rookie of the Year nod? Like, we got Jaden last year. He won Rookie of the Week. Like, we can do this as a fan base. Let's get him a performance that makes us feel good about the running back position moving forward, not knowing who is going to be here and who is not in 2026. So I really want that to be an emphasis today of running the ball. That also gets your offensive line, and Josh Connerly in specific, moving down the field, playing downhill. You're going to be matched up, Josh Connerly, with Brian Burns a lot. And to the credit of Josh Connerly, the past 4 or 5 weeks, he's played well. Not nearly as bad as he was at the beginning of the season, but get downhill, move some bodies. I need to see them run the football and run it well.
Yeah, like he could be he could be the starting back next year. Like, Chris Rodriguez is a restricted free agent. They're going to tender him just because that's probably what you should do. But no, I think Bill has an excellent opportunity. I still very much have unwavering confidence in him. I think what we've gotten into here over the past month plus is well, is Rodriguez the better back? I still would say no. I think he's the better back for right now in terms of what they're trying to accomplish on the ground. I think Bill is a more dynamic athlete. I think Chris Rodriguez just runs fearlessly right now. And that is, I guess, in turn makes him the better player right now. But I would still bank on Bill having a better shot of being the long-term answer here at running back than Chris Rodriguez. That's not saying much.
There's natural tendencies, it feels like, with Bill. Just the natural God-given, his shiftiness, his ability to get skinny in the hole. Now, Chris Rodriguez just wants to run your ass over, which is also something that I feel like you need to have on a successful run-first football team, is a guy that is just hunting for contact. But I do feel like there's something with Bill, the way he jump cuts and the way that he can kind of see and envision the play before the play happens, I feel like is a natural thing that you would like to have on a roster. But again, he hasn't played a lot, and it's hard to develop a guy when you're not playing said guys. So now that he's getting an opportunity, and I feel like, we talked a lot about Ben Sinnott today because Zach Ertz is going to be hurt. Ja'Cory Crosby-Merritt getting opportunities today feels way more likely than Ben Sinnott. So I'd like to see him maximize those opportunities this afternoon. It's a road game for Washington. You need a place to watch it. You can come hang out with us on Autumn Brewing. It's warm in here. I know it's cold as hell outside, so it's warm in here. Great food, great drink. They got their brunch menu going on as well. So come hang out with us. We'll do our halftime show here. We'll do our post-game show here as well. That'll be live on YouTube and Twitter. No Kevin Sheehan. He's stuck on a train, so he won't be able to join us. Bad cell reception, so he won't be able to join us, which means when we get back, how do you stop Jackson Dart? What is Washington going to do defensively to fluster the rookie quarterback? We answer that question for you. He's the Noah Willingham. I'm Denton Day. It's a Burn and Go pregame show on the Team 980. Under 30 minutes away from kickoff in the Meadowlands, Commanders on the road taking on the Giants, looking to avoid falling to 3-11 on the season. Alongside Leno Willingham, I am Denton Day. It is the Burgundy Gold pregame show live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax. Jackson Dart is a rookie, Linnell. He's playing quarterback for the Giants. He was not playing when Washington saw this team last.
Thank God.
Week number one, it was the Rust Train, Mr. Unlimited for the Giants. With that said, he's a rookie quarterback. How much pressure are you anticipating that Dan Quinn is going to send at Jackson Dart to test him a little bit, get him hot under the collar, see what the rookie's made of?
Yeah, I don't know. I think lost in last week's defensive debacle or offensive debacle, rather, was the defense giving up 31 points to one of the worst offenses in football and making another pseudo rookie quarterback and J.J. McCarthy, let him look good. And they didn't heat up McCarthy a lot. I thought the game plan was going to involve a lot of disguising of coverages and things of that nature. So I expect to see that here today. I'm not sure how this is ultimately going to go. I don't have a ton of confidence in their ability to stop Jackson Dart based off of what I saw last week. I mean, Washington's in a bad spot right now on defense. Let's just call it what it is. What they have going for them is every time this year, rather, that they've played a bad offensive line, it feels like they've been able to have some success. Last week, Minnesota's offensive line was back healthy for the first time in a little while, and they got steamrolled. So I don't know how this is going to ultimately go here today.
I will say it did feel like last week they were petrified of Justin Jefferson. Can't blame him. It's pretty good. Didn't want to get beat by Jettas, right?
Yeah.
So it felt like they did not want to send a lot of pressure because they did not want to put Jefferson in a position to where he was going to be one-on-one. There's not a soul on this defense that can cover Justin Jefferson one-on-one.
Right.
Because New York does not have that, I do feel like that will give Washington some more opportunities to put pressure on Jackson Dart. But then it becomes the next question of, can they actually get pressure? Because, I think Dan Quinn has done a really good job scheming up some blitz concepts that have worked when they played bad teams. Teams like Miami, teams like who was the second bad team that they played right after Miami?
Well, they played Denver. They just made them look bad.
They're right. They played a Denver offense that's not very good.
Yeah, right. That's the big,
So can somebody actually get after Jackson Dart? Because you do have to win the matchups. We saw against the Vikings when they tried to do some creative things on defense, it just did not work. They weren't able to. I mean, I can't get it out of my brain. This is not a blitzing thing. But when Justin Jefferson had that one big play that he had where they were 18 yards off the line of scrimmage because they're like, just please, we don't want to get burned over the top by Justin Jefferson, and then they hit him on a slant on the inside, and then three guys got blocked by one tight end. They were all over the place on defense. I do feel like you'll see a little bit more maybe of the guy that I think was the leader of the shirtless bit, Frankie Louvu, getting after the quarterback, but I think they need to light him up a little bit just to see. I mean, at this case, what's the worst that's going to happen? You've already lost 8 in a row, going on 9 in a row.
I just worry about him running around today. That's the thing that I think they're totally not prepared for. I don't think they're going to be able to handle him as a scrambler and making off-schedule throws. We're going to give our predictions here in a second, like on the other side, but I don't know how I can pick them. I don't know how I can pick them.
I don't know how you can pick them either. I mean, they're 2.5-point underdogs. I do have a couple bets already placed for this game.
Good for you.
Some of them are on one. I got Bill Krosky-Merritt having a good day. Anytime touchdown for Bill is -130, and I am of the belief that Washington is going to score at least one touchdown today. Did not have that last week against Minnesota, obviously, but I do believe that they will get at the end zone at least once. I think Bill is going to be the guy to do it. So I do have a couple of bets on like a Bill Krosky-Merritt. I have a rushing bet on maybe a Marcus Mariota because I think the RPO with Marcus Mariota has been really impressive, and he is a savant when it comes to that. But that's like all the Commanders bets that I have, and it's a lot of rushing bets for the Giants and touchdown bets for the Giants and points bets for the Giants because defensively they just have not shown an ability to stop anybody. Even in the game where they found themselves, they still allowed a Denver offense that has not been fantastic to put up a lot of points.
Yeah, I mean, it's been the story of the year. I don't know. I think today on defense, I mean, you need a good performance. And when they've been able to play well this year, it has been the defensive line really leading the charge, and the two interior guys in particular, talking about Deron Payne and Javon Kinlaw.
Where has Kinlaw been the past few weeks?
Well,
Yeah, at least Deron Payne had the game against Denver where you saw a little bit of that vintage Deron Payne.
Yeah.
It does feel like Javon Kinlaw has been a little MIA in recent weeks.
And they're both INCON SISTENT or TANT.
Inconsistent.
I mean, I tried. I tried. Like, they've both been brutally inconsistent. And I think I was listening to the John Keim report, and he was referencing, talking to other coaches and executives throughout the league. Like, they look at Washington's defense and just say it's a group that just doesn't have a lot of talent. And I was like, God, I've been saying this all year. And when they do reference their talent, they say the best two guys are on the interior with Javon Kinlaw and Deron Payne. And if they're your best two defenders, knowing how painfully average they've been all year, no pun intended, then, like, you have a problem.
You are in trouble.
They're both not good football players.
They have been struggling.
They're average.
Mightily.
Like, very, very average. There's a reason this is Kinlaw's third team. And there's a reason we all talk about Deron Payne every year. Why is he always the guy every year where we go, we got to get more from him. Need more. And he never gives you.
Well, I can tell you the reason. It's because he was paid because he did more 1 year.
Yeah.
Exactly 1 year. And then has not been able to replicate that year ever since. And everyone that I talked to nationally during that offseason was like, don't do it. Don't do it. It's a bad deal. Don't do it. And then they did it. And it was a bad deal. And it's never worked statistically. The problem is it's not like you can see sometimes when a guy statistically is not having a great year, but they're still a great player. Cough, Dexter Lawrence, cough, right? Not the greatest year, but you still are very much aware of Dexter Lawrence. We haven't talked about him a ton, but that's a guy that you need to make sure you got a hat on a head. Deron is just not, he just hasn't been that, right? And you see spurts of it, but it's never been consistent. And it's been a tough pill to swallow. And it's a pill that you swallowed from the previous regime that you just had to deal with. It just, he's going to, if he does not play good or even just average, like if he doesn't play average the final 4 games of the season, it feels like he is on the cusp of getting John Allen.
I mean,
maybe he was already there, and I just held out hope that we would see something from him this year that would say, no, we should actually keep him for another year and see what it's like.
They definitely kept the worst of the two players. Is how I would put it. I would say that John Allen has just always been a better player than Deron Payne. More consistent run defender, better pass rusher. Like, there's a lot of different things I feel like you could say.
Yeah.
When comparing those two, I don't get the decision. It was more of a personality fit. It felt like, and a financial thing. But the guy that's supposed to be the successor, and Jazon Newton, sucks. So I think it's a big problem here when it comes to that spot, and it's going to be interesting.
Our next problem at hand is having to find a way to see if we can actually pick this team to win today. He's Linnell Willingham. I'm Denton Day. We will make our predictions. Can Washington snap this losing streak and avoid taking an 11th loss on the year? We tell you next. It's a Burgundy Gold pregame show live from Honor Brewing in Fairfax. About 10 minutes away from kickoff. Washington on the road taking on the Giants. If you need a place to come watch the game, come hang out with us on our brewing. I know it's snowy outside, but the roads are clear. Come hang out. Have a drink. They got some great options here, food and drink options, brunch menu, fully engaged.
I'm ready for brunch.
Well, yeah, Linnell's looking at that brunch menu up and down. So come hang out with us. We'll be here for our halftime show. That'll be live on Twitter and YouTube. We'll be here for our post-game show as well. That'll also be live on Twitter and on YouTube. We're minutes away from kickoff, Linnell, in a game that we have been doing our best to manufacture hype. It's been very difficult because the team is not very good. And they're playing another team that's also not very good. It'd be a completely different boat if you're playing against a team that's fun, because at least you get to watch the other team in some capacity. The Giants are not like a good team to watch. They're not a fun team to watch. Do you believe that Washington, who is a 2.5 point underdog, do you believe that they have what it takes to snap the streak and finally get a win? They haven't won since October.
No, I don't think they have what it takes to do anything positive right now. This is a bad football team.
Yes.
I think we've come to the realization over the past several weeks, and last week was really my nail in the coffin. You're on the road. You're in a hotel. You're eating dinner with your guys. Your Hard Knocks is following you, and you got blanked by the Vikings. So, no, I don't think they're going to beat the Giants today. And I don't know how the offense is going to move the football. That Giants defense is legit. They've been ahead on some very good teams this year.
On top of that, Washington's offense is not very good.
Yeah, they're not. Now, I will say this, and it's probably going to mix some things up here. Marcus Mariota has been the better quarterback this year between him and Jaden Daniels when they've both gotten the opportunity to play. So maybe that is maybe a feather in Washington's cap at this point, but we'll see how it ultimately goes. I like the Giants 28-6.
28, so not even a touchdown, or do they miss an extra point?
What am I kidding? I'll go 31-17.
31-7. So they at least get a couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll go 31-17. Because if they can move the ball against Denver with Marcus Mariota, they should be able to move the ball against the Giants.
They should theoretically. That's going to be.
That's not the way that works, but
that's going to be a big challenge for Cliff, though, because he took accountability for them not moving the ball last week. I actually did think that Jaden played that first drive in particular. I thought was a really good drive.
It was,
and then when you don't come away with points, it kind of is demoralizing. So I thought they played well enough in the first portion of the game last week to score points, not to win, just to score points, and then they didn't score points. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm not picking Washington to win. I'm going to take the Giants. I think the Giants cover that number 2 at 2.5. I'm going to go a little bit closer. I'm going to go 24-20. So I think the game is at least close enough to justify watching it in its entirety. I don't believe this is going to be something where you're looking at whatever the other game is on the schedule. They're saying, I'm just going to shift to red. Yeah, this is a great weekend for the NFL. I'm just going to shift to red zone for the entirety of the second half. I do think Washington will keep it close enough to justify still watching the game, but this is just not a good football team right now. And they're hurt. They're injured. You don't have your quarterback playing. And I don't know how well they're going to play in cold weather or in the snow. We just haven't really seen that from a lot of the guys that are on this current roster. I don't know that it'll make a huge difference, but it's just it's like stacking marbles. And eventually it's finally going to overflow. It's finally going to break. So I do think that Washington loses. I think they fall to 3-11. I think 24-20 is the final score. We're going to be live at halftime, hopefully more positive. That's going to be on Twitter and YouTube. We'll be live on the post game as well. He's the Noah Willingham. I'm Denton Day. Enjoy this game to as much as you can, and we'll see you in about 90 minutes.